In June 1944, American tankers in Normandy gave the M4 Sherman a nickname. They called it the Ronson, after the cigarette lighter, because it lit on fire the first time, every time. The Army knew, the engineers knew, the problem had been documented since 1942. But the tanks kept rolling off the production line. Same armor, same fuel system, same flaw. The question isn't why the Sherman burned. The question is why the people who built it decided that was acceptable. The M4 Sherman entered production in February 1942 at the Lima Locomotive Works in Ohio. It weighed 33 tons. Its main gun was a 75 mm M3. Top armor thickness on the hull sides, 38 millimeters. For 1942, those numbers were reasonable. The German Panzer IV, the most common tank the Sherman would face, carried a short-barreled 75 mm that could not reliably penetrate 38 mm of rolled homogeneous steel at combat range. The Ordnance Department designed the Sherman to be good enough. Not the best. Good enough. What they did not design for was the ammunition storage. The M4 stored 90 rounds of 75 mm ammunition in unprotected racks along the hull floor and lower sponsons, the wide, outward-sloping sections on either side of the hull. Those sponsons sat at exactly the height a German anti-tank round would strike when fired from ground level. That detail was noted, filed, and production continued. The British received their first Shermans in mid-1942. In North Africa, they ran them against German 50 Mini and 75 Mini anti-tank guns at ranges between 500 and 800 meters. The results came back in October 1942. The after-action report from the British 1st Armoured Division was specific. Penetrating hits to the lower hull consistently caused ammunition fires. Not engine fires. Ammunition fires. The U.S. Ordnance Department reviewed the report. Their conclusion, the problem was crew behavior. Crews were leaving loose rounds on the floor. Tighten the stowage procedures, the fires would stop. They were not wrong that loose rounds made it worse. They were wrong that stowage procedure was the cause. The rounds in the racks, properly stowed, untouched, were still igniting on penetrating hits. The propellant charges were semi-fixed. They did not require a direct spark. Heat and concussion from a penetrating round were enough. The Ordnance Department closed the report. Production continued at 2,000 units per month. By late 1943, a pattern had emerged across 3 theaters: North Africa, Italy, the Pacific. Sherman fires were not random. They clustered around hits to the lower hull, specifically between the front drive sprocket and the turret ring. In November 1943, Ordnance engineers proposed a fix: wet stowage. The ammunition racks would be surrounded by a water glycol solution held in a steel jacket. A penetrating round might still breach the hull, but the liquid would absorb enough heat to prevent propellant ignition. The proposal was approved. Then the production schedule was checked. Retrofitting existing tanks in the field was not feasible. New production with wet stowage would begin, estimated timeline, mid-1944. D-Day was June 6, 1944. The first wet stowage Shermans, designated M4A176W, began arriving in Europe in July 1944, 1 month after the landings. The crews that received them reported a measurable reduction in catastrophic fires. The fix worked, but in Normandy's Bocage country, between June and July 1944, the dry stowage Shermans were still the primary American tank, and German anti-tank crews had already identified the sponson shot as the kill pattern. It was documented in a German training circular dated June 14, 1944, 8 days after D-Day. Villers-Bocage, June 13, 1944. SS Obersturmführer Michael Wittmann, 1 Tiger 1, 8 minutes, 14 Shermans destroyed, 2 Cromwells, 15 personnel carriers. Most of the Shermans burned. The 7th Armored Division, the Desert Rats, lost its advance column. Not from lack of numbers. They had the numbers. Wittmann fired from the left flank. Lower hull shots. Sponson height. The rounds entered. The propellant ignited. Crews had roughly 4 seconds to evacuate a burning Sherman before the ammunition cooked off. 4 seconds. The armor was not defective. It performed exactly as designed. 38 mm of rolled homogeneous steel resists a 50 mm round at 500 meters. The ordnance calculations were correct for the 1942 threat environment. The failure was a sequence. The Ordnance Department designed for the threat that existed at the time of design. By the time the tank reached combat, the threat had changed. German 75 mm long-barreled guns, the PaK-40 and the KWK-40, penetrated 38 mm at over 1,000 meters. The wet stowage fix was real. It reduced catastrophic fire rates from approximately 60–65% of penetrating hits down to roughly 10–15%. That change arrived in mid-1944. The Ordnance Department noted this in their post-war assessment as a successful retrofit program. Between June 1944 and May 1945, the United States produced 17,711 M4 Sherman tanks. Approximately 1,900 were lost in the European theater. Of those losses, fires were the leading cause of crew fatality, not the penetration itself. The wet stowage fix was available in November 1943. The Ordnance Department's internal estimate, filed in that same month, projected the fix would reduce crew deaths by 40%. That document sat for 7 months.